The Bartender's Tale is a pretty great Cheers episode with a really wonderful character. This is the 23rd episode of the third season, of course directed by James Burrows, and there will be spoilers from now as I talk about things mostly in chronological order and share some thoughts for things that I like. It gets off to the point really quickly with the narrative being established that Sam is trying to hire a new barmaid because obviously Diane has left to go to Europe with Frasier, and up until this point, I'd never really understood why exactly Carla doesn't like Cliff. Obviously, he can be a bit annoying. I love him, absolutely love him, but his personality is not always the easiest. But in this opening, he calls her a wench. And it's the first time where I've thought, yeah, all right, I can understand why Carla is not exactly Cliff's fan. And we learn that, of course, Sam is trying to hire beautiful, attractive waitresses, and understandably Carla wants somebody who actually can be a good waitress. She wants him to hire somebody good at the job, but it's unclear whether that's going to happen. And then he interviews Lillian Huxley, played by Lila Kaye, and she is older than the rest of the applicants and has, I think it was 25 years experience waitressing or as a barmaid. And Carla convinces Sam to give her a trial, and she is just wonderful. She's absolutely incredible as a character. I love her so, so much. And we get to see her basically being amazing, leading a song as everybody sings White Cliffs of Dover. She helps Cliff out with his back. Everything is going brilliantly, and Carla is really happy as well. Carla actually sends a note to Diane. Well, she actually sends Lillian's resume and basically telling Diane, we have a replacement for you, see ya. And we do get, I think, 2 scenes with Diane and Frasier in Italy, and they're talking about Lira, and it took me like a couple of seconds to date the episode, which was rather amusing. And it's quite nice to see a different set design, a different room, a different environment. It's still nice to establish that although they've gone to Europe, Frasier and Diane are still very much part of the show at this point. And I don't want to say too much about that or what we can get in future episodes, but I like the fact that while we technically said bye-bye in Cheerio Cheers, they're still in it, and we still get a decent amount of comedy out of them. Things are going really well, and then enter Caroline. Caroline Huxley, played by Camilla Moore. She is, of course, Lillian's daughter, and she's a model. She's showing initially Sam her modelling portfolio, and then within a couple of seconds there are just so many guys huddled around trying to get a glimpse of this portfolio, which I thought was very stereotypical, but it worked very well. And Sam wants to take Caroline out on a date, and Carla obviously doesn't want him to because it could ruin things with Lillian, but Carla tells him, if you get permission from Lillian, I'll be okay with it. And Sam takes Lillian into his office, and Lillian kind of misconstrues the situation and thinks that Sam is hitting on her. She's totally okay with that. She's absolutely fine with that. And then she mentions that 2 of her husbands have died while in bed with her, and Sam seems terrified and fascinated, and it's a really interesting situation for Sam to be in, and I think it's very clear to see the confusion with how he feels about this, because he's impressed but also kind of unnerved, and it's brilliantly done. And Ted Danson was amazing, of course, and just how that all played out, I really thoroughly enjoyed, and I thought Lillian was a really fantastic character. We do obviously get a lot of Carla in this episode. We don't get that much from Norm. Norm doesn't have that much to say. Cliff a little bit more, but again, nothing in abundance. And obviously this is another episode without Coach. We've had our last full episode with Coach, and he does appear briefly in another episode, but I won't say too much about that. I think it's either the next episode or the one after that, but don't quote me. But it certainly feels quite different in this episode to have not much input from Norm and Cliff. Sam and Diane and Frasier instinctively want to say Sam and Diane. Diane and Frasier, or Frasier and Diane, obviously in it, but not at Cheers, and then the lack of Coach. Things just seem really different, and not necessarily bad different, but certainly different. It's a really good episode. I don't think I laughed out loud at any. Sometimes there are episodes that just have my sides splitting all of the way through, and some are just like this, where it's really delightful, the characters are great. I had a lot of fun with it. I might not have laughed out loud, but it's still a brilliant episode. Without question, though, The Bartender's Tale is a really good episode, and obviously one that I really thoroughly enjoyed.